In the first moments of any inner journey, there is always a silent invitation, almost secret, not heard by the ears but by the soul. It's as if life itself calls us into a deeper place within, a territory where every word becomes a seed and every thought an act of creation. This is where the mystery of the three words revealed by Jesus is born. Simple words, yet vibrating with a power that transcends time. Even before understanding them, you can feel something ancient awaken inside, as if they belong to a spiritual language we once knew, but forgot amid the noise of the world. Jesus always spoke little, but he spoke essentially. His words were never just sounds. They were spiritual codes, keys that opened doors within human consciousness. When he spoke, he wasn't merely offering instructions, he was expanding inner horizons. What made his presence so transformative wasn't the quantity of words, but their depth. Each syllable seemed to carry the vibration of the universe itself, and that's why, even now, millennia later, his expressions still echo powerfully in our hearts. There are moments in life when a single phrase, truly understood, can change everything. One sentence can interrupt a cycle of anxiety, calm inner storms, or redirect an entire destiny. Certain words work like lighthouses in the dark, like a hand reaching out when you see no way out. And Jesus, in his infinite wisdom, left us three words that do exactly that, words that restore inner peace, reignite the feeling of sacred protection, and open unseen paths that lead to true prosperity, the kind that rises from a heart aligned with the divine. You may be seeking relief, clarity, direction. You may be looking for answers the world has never offered. Or perhaps, deep down, you long simply for a moment of silence that soothes the soul. That's why this video is an invitation. Walk with me through this journey to the end, because along the way you'll discover not only what the three words are, but why they carry such profound power and how they can transform your life. They are not magical by themselves. They are portals, and to walk through them, you must understand the spiritual space they open. Before revealing these words, we need to understand the wisdom Jesus hid behind his simple expressions. It's in this understanding that the heart prepares, the mind expands, and consciousness opens to receive something greater. So stay with me. The revelation will come, and when it does, it will make sense not only to your intellect, but to your entire being. You may even discover that what you've been seeking all along has always been within reach of a whisper. When we speak of the power of Jesus' words, we're not referring only to their literal meaning, but to the vibrational field he activated when he spoke. Jesus didn't offer rigid doctrines or build closed mental systems. He awakened states of consciousness. Each of his words was a bridge between the human and the divine, between limitation and infinity. He knew that reality begins within, that the outer world is always a subtle reflection of what the mind and heart sustain in silence. That's why his words had such impact. They were seeds planted directly in the soil of the soul. The ancient statement, "In the beginning was the Word," is not merely a theological record, but a philosophical revelation about the nature of existence. The Word represents the creative force, the primordial vibration that gives shape to everything. If in the beginning was the Word, it means that before any physical manifestation existed, there was intention, consciousness, sound. Jesus understood this fully. He spoke knowing each phrase could organize inner chaos, realign thoughts, dissolve fear. His words carried the same harmony that holds the stars in place, and so they awakened healing, courage, and transformation. Modern psychology, in its own way, confirms what he taught. Words shape thoughts, thoughts shape emotions, emotions shape actions, and actions shape destiny. All transformation begins with how we speak to ourselves. And if the word is the first tool of creation, Jesus was giving people back the ability to create their lives from within. He wasn't just a spiritual master, he was an architect of human consciousness. When we look at other philosophical traditions, we see that many pointed in the same direction. The Stoics taught inner mastery as the path to freedom. The Vedas spoke of the unity between the self and the sacred. Greek philosophers sought to understand the essence of the soul and the cosmos. But Jesus did something unique. He translated profound mysteries into simple gestures and parables even a child could understand. He brought the infinite into the everyday, using seeds, fields, birds, and paths to explain the kingdom within. He made the transcendent accessible. This simplicity didn't reduce the depth, it amplified it. Because what is truly elevated doesn't need to be complicated. What is genuinely divine speaks with clarity, ease, and gentleness. And so, when Jesus spoke, he touched something beyond intellect. He awakened a spiritual memory in people. The sense of, I'm remembering something that has always lived inside me. To prepare the way for his 3 words, we must first understand this dynamic. Jesus didn't offer phrases to memorize, he offered states of being to embody. The words he spoke carried transformative power because they activated consciousness, not because they held magical formulas. And in the same way, when you repeat the 3 words revealed in this video, you're not merely vocalizing sounds, you're aligning your mind with a vibration that transforms. So allow yourself to open your mind and spirit. What comes next is not external teaching, but internal awakening. The 3 words we will reveal are not just expressions spoken by Jesus. They are keys that can change the way you think, feel, and live. Prepare yourself. The journey is just beginning, and what it awakens within you may redefine the direction of your life. There are moments in life when the soul seems to walk in circles, tired of seeking answers that never arrive, worn from carrying a weight no one else sees. Imagine someone like this. A person who, after countless attempts, feels as if their world has grown too small. Thoughts crash like restless waves, pushing them endlessly from side to side. The heart, once full of hope, now beats with a rhythm of constant unease. It's that silent feeling of being alive yet not truly living. Many know this place. It is an inner wasteland where the mind speaks too loudly and the spirit speaks too softly. This person, who could be any one of us, wakes up each morning with a fog covering the eyes of their awareness. There are tasks, responsibilities, obligations, yet nothing seems to have flavor. The overload of thoughts becomes a kind of labyrinth, each hallway leading to the same place. Anxiety, confusion, exhaustion. The inner disconnection grows so deep that even the body begins to feel it. The chest tightens, the breath shortens, the day passes mechanically. The person doesn't realize it, but they carry an emptiness heavier than any physical weight. It's in this space that Jesus appears, not as a distant figure, not as a judge, not as a stern teacher, but as a silent, compassionate presence. He arrives like a lighthouse that shines without demanding attention. He doesn't ask for explanations, doesn't point out mistakes, doesn't question why the person sank so deeply into their own pain. He simply looks, and in that look lies the first miracle. It is a gaze that understands without judgment, that comforts without invading, that awakens without pressuring. It's the kind of gaze that reminds the heart that something sacred still lives within. The person, too tired to resist, allows themselves to be seen. And then, without lengthy speeches, without formulas, without dramatic gestures, Jesus offers 3 words. Words so simple they could easily be overlooked, yet spoken with a tenderness that reaches places ignored for years. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't insist. He simply plants 3 spiritual seeds, each one finding its way into the person's heart as if returning home. At the moment these words are heard, not yet revealed to you here, something begins to shift. It's not spectacular, not explosive, not cinematic. It's subtle. It's inward. The chest expands slightly. The breath deepens. The weight, though still present, no longer crushes. It's as if a new light flickers behind the darkness, timid but real. The person feels something reorganizing itself in silence, not because they understood anything intellectually, but because the soul recognized a forgotten truth. In the days that follow, small transformations begin. Problems don't vanish, but the person walks with a new inner posture. The mental noise softens. Presence returns. Courage rises. A thread of hope supports each step. The 3 words, repeated in thoughts and whispers, work like an inner alignment, and life, once colorless, slowly regains its shades. Because when the soul receives a simple truth, it awakens. And when it awakens, it transforms everything around it, even before the world notices. This is how the touch of Jesus works. Quiet on the surface, but profoundly transformative at the core. The first word Jesus revealed, I am, is more than an expression. It is a deep, almost sacred recognition of existence itself. When he spoke those two syllables, he wasn't simply stating an identity. He was pointing to the essence living within every human being. I am is the root of consciousness, the silent core that remains even when everything else changes. It is the flame that never goes out, the center that cannot be lost. By saying I am, Jesus invited us to remember who we truly are, before the masks, before the wounds, before the world's expectations. In the Gospels, Jesus uses this expression in decisive moments. I am the way, I am the light, I am the bread of life. Every time he said, I am, he showed that his strength didn't come from the outside, but from complete awareness of his unity with the divine. He didn't define himself by what he did, but by what he was. And that was the invitation, for each person to discover their own divine spark, their own spiritual origin. Because when you recognize your I am, you stop being a prisoner to fear, comparison, and insecurity. Philosophically, I am is the deepest affirmation that exists. It doesn't depend on circumstances. It doesn't change with time. It doesn't shift with other people's opinions. It is the fixed point within, the axis that holds your inner world together. When you say, I am, you're touching the foundation of your own consciousness. You're affirming your existence, your presence, your truth. It's as if you turn toward your own center and say, I'm here. And that simple perception begins a process of healing. Jesus knew that most human suffering comes from forgetting. We forget who we are, the worth we carry, the strength within us. That's why he offered this expression as a key. When you repeat, I am, you are remembering yourself. You are returning to yourself. You are loosening the grip of limiting beliefs and opening space for a higher perspective on life. Modern psychology calls it reprogramming. Spirituality calls it awakening. Different languages for the same truth. When you say, I am enough, you begin dissolving the inner voices that say nothing is ever enough. When you affirm, I am guided by the divine, you calm the mental chaos and restore a sense of direction. When you declare, I am protected, you disarm fear and make room for quiet confidence. I am acts like an anchor. It grounds your spirit in the present and prevents your mind from drifting into places of despair. This practice mirrors mindfulness, breathing techniques, and ancient mantras. But with Jesus, it gains an added tenderness. He didn't request mechanical repetition. He asked for awareness. I am is not a phrase to memorize. It's an experience to live. A reminder that within you exists a presence nothing can destroy. A presence not dependent on circumstances, but capable of transforming them. When you let this word echo within you, you'll realize it's not just a sound. It's a return to your worth, your dignity, your peace. It is the first key, the first seed, the first opening. And from this beginning, everything starts to align, because when you change your I am, you change everything. The second word Jesus revealed, with you, with me, carries one of the deepest gestures of spiritual love ever offered to humanity. When he said, I am with you always, he wasn't simply offering emotional comfort. He was proclaiming a truth that transcends centuries. We never walk alone. There is a presence that holds, guides, strengthens, and surrounds us even when we don't perceive it. The philosophy of divine presence is one of the most transformative because it addresses the oldest fear known to humanity, the fear of essential loneliness. Not physical loneliness, that is easy to solve, but that deep sense of being unprotected in existence, as if life is too big and we are too small. Jesus dissolves this fear with a single, gentle word, with you. In saying it, he rebuilds the inner bridge we often believe we've lost. He reminds us that life is not an empty territory, but a field accompanied by a greater presence. Modern psychology confirms that the feeling of connection is a pillar of emotional health. Humans suffer when they feel alone, when they believe they must carry the world without support. But Jesus offered a different perspective, that there is a constant, silent, loving spiritual companionship that doesn't depend on circumstances or deserving. It is unconditional. When you repeat the word "with you," or inwardly "with me," you're not seeking an external force. You're recognizing the living presence of the sacred within. This word dissolves fear because it reorganizes the mind. When someone says, "I'm not alone," the body relaxes, breath deepens, the heart settles. Insecurity loses strength. Anxiety quiets. It's as if an invisible hand takes yours, reminding you that each step has meaning. Jesus knew that simply feeling accompanied transforms the way we face challenges. That's why he repeated this truth many times. Do not fear, I am with you. I will not leave you orphaned. When you say "with you, with me," you're not making a common prayer. You're activating a field of presence. You're recognizing that something greater is guiding your thoughts, protecting your steps, and lighting your path even in the darkest moments. It's like turning on a light in a room that seemed empty, only to realize you were never alone. This word brings protection because it aligns your spirit with trust, and trust is a shield. When the heart believes a divine presence walks beside it, fear has no space to grow. You become stronger without hardening, calmer without withdrawing, more confident without needing to control everything. Use this word in simple and difficult moments. When anxiety rises, whisper, "with you." Before sleep, when the mind tries to invent fears, repeat, "with me." When you feel lost, breathe deeply and say, "I walk with the divine, and the divine walks with me." This practice is not escapism, it is reconnection. It is remembering a love that never leaves. Jesus reaffirmed this truth throughout his journey, and when you let this word enter you, you begin to experience what he always wanted us to feel, that life is held by a silent presence, one that never leaves your side. The third word revealed, peace, is perhaps one of the most powerfully transformative expressions Jesus ever spoke. When he said, "My peace I give to you," he wasn't referring to superficial calm or momentary relief. He was offering an inner strength, a state of being that remains even when everything around seems to fall apart. The peace of Jesus is not the absence of movement, it is the presence of equilibrium. Not external quiet, but inner stability. Not escape, but the ability to live in the world without being consumed by it. Peace, in Jesus' understanding, was a living energy, a state of consciousness that begins deep within and expands into every area of life. He knew that without inner peace, the mind becomes a battlefield where no thought rests. A restless mind blocks intuition, hides the path, and prevents prosperity from flowing. But when peace settles in, even gently, everything changes. It's as if light finds its way through cracks that were tightly shut. Many spiritual traditions echo this wisdom. Lao Tzu taught that only a quiet heart understands the natural rhythm of things. Buddha taught that peace is the awakening of true nature. Christian mystics said that God speaks to the silent heart. They all pointed to the same truth. Only a peaceful mind sees clearly. Only a peaceful soul walks steadily. Only a peaceful spirit truly prospers. Repeating the word peace is not an empty ritual, it is a return to center. It is like taking the mind by the hand and saying, "Come home." When you speak this word, your nervous system receives a direct signal of calm. The body exhales what it was holding. The breath deepens, tension loosens, and the heart, tightened by days or years, finally expands. Peace is the fertile ground where every good thing grows. True prosperity doesn't emerge from haste but from clarity. Paths don't reveal themselves through chaos, but through quiet presence. Divine protection is not perceived in confusion, but in stillness. Jesus knew that without this foundation, any word is lost, any decision becomes heavy, any dream turns into anxiety. Peace is the invisible frame that holds all blessings. He didn't offer his peace as an option, but as a gift, as if saying, "Here's what sustains your soul. Receive it." When you repeat this word, whether aloud or in thought, you activate that gift. You awaken it within yourself. The peace of Jesus doesn't come from outside. It already lives inside you, simply waiting to be remembered. Breathe deeply as you whisper peace. Let the word move through you like a gentle wave. Picture it touching your mind, your heart, your muscles, your scattered thoughts. Imagine it flowing like light into the places that hurt the most. Slowly, the word becomes more than a sound. It becomes a state. Peace is not passivity. It is pure strength, silent courage, protection rising from within. When Jesus said, "My peace I give to you," he was offering the key to turn any storm into a path, any noise into wisdom, any fear into trust. And when you touch this peace, life begins to reorganize itself around it. There are spiritual practices that seem too simple to be transformative, yet carry ancient strength within them. Using daily the three words Jesus revealed, "I am," "with you," "with me," and "peace," is one of them. They require no time, no complex rituals, no sacred objects. They require only presence. And it is precisely this simplicity that makes them so profound. What comes from the Spirit doesn't need decoration, only sincerity. Imagine beginning your day with a hand placed gently over your heart. This small, quiet, intimate gesture already shifts something within. It signals to the mind that you're returning to yourself, leaving autopilot, opening the door for awareness. As you breathe in deeply, you let life in. As you breathe out, you allow what is heavy to begin leaving. And then, in that moment of stillness, you speak, slowly and consciously, the first word, "I am." This declaration immediately awakens presence. It's like turning on a light inside a dimly lit room. By saying "I am," you establish who is leading your day, not fear, not worry, not the past, not external voices, but your true essence. With each repetition, you notice the mind aligning, the body relaxing, and the day taking on a different tone. The second word, "with you, with me," is a spiritual embrace. When you say it, you remind yourself that a presence walks with you, a presence that never leaves. This simple recognition dissolves layers of anxiety because you stop carrying everything alone. The sense of divine companionship becomes a balm for a mind that often tries to control uncertainty. Saying "with you" is remembering there is guidance. Saying "with me" is recognizing that this guidance lives within. Then comes the final word, peace. Speaking it creates an inner space where everything settles. Peace acts like a river flowing through your being, calming turbulence, clearing heaviness, opening clarity where confusion once lived. Saying peace is allowing God to breathe within you. It's offering your soul the rest it's been longing for. With this word, your entire energy shifts, becoming calmer, lighter, clearer. When these three words are used together, they create alignment, like watering an inner garden. Each repetition strengthens your consciousness, enriches the soil of the mind, expands your spiritual field. Over days, you notice small changes, more clarity. Over weeks, deeper shifts, firmer decisions, less anxiety. Over months, profound transformation, prosperity flowing naturally, a deeper sense of protection, peace becoming a constant state. Just as a garden blooms when tended daily, the mind blooms when nourished by words of truth. It's not the force of repetition that transforms, it's the awareness awakened through repetition. That's why Jesus chose simple words. They don't complicate, they liberate. Use them in the morning to align your day. Use them at night to quiet your mind. Use them in moments of doubt, fear, or restlessness. Every time you need to return to yourself, return through these words. They are not a mechanical mantra, they are a path. And the more you walk it, the more your life shifts from within. As we reach the end of this journey, it's important to remember that nothing spoken here is merely spiritual theory or poetic reflection. Jesus always spoke with purpose, and his words have endured through time because they don't belong to an era, they belong to the human essence. The three words you received, "I am," "with you, with me," and "peace," are not magic formulas nor escape routes. They are portals to states of consciousness Jesus awakened in those who followed him. He didn't offer a religion to be followed blindly. He offered a new way of existing. When you recall the power he attributed to the word you understand that transformation does not depend on something external. It depends on what you cultivate within. Jesus knew that the word shapes the mind, and the mind shapes life. That's why he spoke little, but he spoke deeply. Each of his expressions opened invisible horizons, reorganized the inner world, awakened courage, strengthened faith, and guided the hearts of those who listened. The same is true for these three words, small in form, immense in force. They do not work as enchantments. They work as spiritual reminders. When you say, I am, you affirm your worth and divine identity. When you say, with you, with me, you recognize you never walk alone. When you say peace, you restore the balance the world often tries to take from you. Together, they create an inner state capable of sustaining prosperity, clarity, and protection, not as miracles falling from the sky, but as the natural consequence of an elevated consciousness. So the invitation now is to experience them. Understanding is not enough. You must live them. Commit to 7 days of this practice, 7 days repeating these words with presence, softness, and openness. Notice how your mind responds, how your body reacts, how situations begin to shift around you. Sometimes the biggest transformations start as small, almost invisible movements, but the spirit senses them first. Let this be your commitment to yourself, allowing the wisdom of Jesus to find space to bloom within you. Nothing is more precious than cultivating peace, because from peace, everything true is born. Nothing is more powerful than feeling divine companionship, because from it rises courage. Nothing is more transformative than remembering who you are, because from that remembrance rises purpose. If this message touched your heart, write in the comments, I receive the peace of Jesus. This declaration is a sign of openness, a gesture that tells the universe you are ready to live in a new vibration. And always remember, when you change what you repeat, you change what you believe. And when you change what you believe, everything around you changes. May the gentle light of an awakened consciousness accompany every step you take. May you find small openings of peace each day. And may these 3 words remain alive in your heart as reminders of everything Jesus wanted you to discover about yourself. That you are loved, and that you are peace,